around the world. There's an institute in my campus that I'll reference. It's named for my husband, but it's called the Capps Center for the Study of Faith, Ethics, and Public Policy. And they sponsored an event. In fact, they had a series of events this past fall celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Peace Corps. And at that occasion, one of those occasions, it was a privilege to welcome Aaron Williams, who is the Peace Corps, National Peace Corps Director, to Santa Barbara. And in doing so, to pay tribute to the Peace Corps, but also we invited, the Capps Center invited three former Peace Corps volunteers to honor their service, but also to invite them to form a panel discussion so the rest of us could listen and respond and have questions about their own experiences. One of them was Sarah Shays, who's a former NPR National Public Radio correspondent. She's a prominent author and founder of the Argand Cooperative in Kandahar, Afghanistan. She spoke of early in the formation of Peace Corps, her experiences there. She served in Morocco from 1984 to 1986. Also present to be recognized and also to participate in the discussion was Gordon Radley. He's the former president of Lucasfilms, and he served in Malawi from 1968 to 1970, and then again in Western Samoa in 1979 and 1980. The third person who spoke, I just acknowledge these people because they're examples of community leaders in the country who were influenced so tremendously by their experience in Peace Corps. One whom I know well because he's a constituent of ours in the congressional district, but also with his service is Thomas Tighe. He is the president and CEO of a very influential organization called Direct Relief International, which provides emergency services, disaster aid to countries around the world. Its headquarters in Santa Barbara. And before Tom came to this position, he served as the Peace Corps Associate General Counsel and was the Chief of Staff and COO of the Peace Corps. And he himself served in Thailand from 1986 to 1988. So their stories, and I mentioned these three because now the Library of Congress is collecting stories from previous volunteers, and I think it's a great idea that the anecdotes and vignettes that Peace Corps volunteers remember so poignantly from their time of service can be woven into the Library of Congress archives and there for permanent record. You know, some of us in Congress, Mr. Garamendi, are old enough to remember the passion and enthusiasm from these 50 years ago when President Kennedy announced the creation of the Corps. The idea that Americans from all different backgrounds and walks of life would have an opportunity to work for and to learn from other cultures. You know, in that time, that was a fairly radical concept. But I marvel, don't you, at how far we have come. Since 1961, when the first volunteers went abroad, nearly 200,000 volunteers have served in 139 countries around the world. These are talented and selfless Americans who've made lasting contributions in agriculture, in business development, in sustainable infrastructure, in education, in health, in combating HIV and AIDS, in working to protect the environment around the world. Collectively, each volunteer's work represents a legacy of service that has become such a significant part of America's history and the positive image that we have abroad. I know that Mr. Farr is going to speak probably after me, and he's just joined the group, and he and I are part of an organization here in Congress which has some connections to the Peace Corps. And last week, it's called the House Democracy Partnership. And last week, we traveled actually literally around the world. And one of the places we were, one of our partner countries whose parliament we work with closely is the country of Indonesia. And for many years, Peace Corps was not there. And now just this past year, volunteers have been welcomed back. And we had the chance to meet these active volunteers as we have met during other visits to other countries with our work in the House Democracy Partnership. Some of the countries are Malawi and Indonesia, and we've we've taken gifts. Sometimes, occasionally, we'll have a constituent serving there, so a family will ask us to bring some item that this person has wanted. But and it was because of Mr. Farr's insistence that we invite 4 of the current volunteers. They've just come back. The presence of Peace Corps in the country, and I know, Mr. Farr, I hope you'll expand upon this. The 4 had dinner with us who were visiting. Here we were in Surabaya, coastal community in a large city, actually, in Indonesia, and these 4 young people who are teaching English as a second language in the high schools in the region came and shared some of their stories with us. It moved me then, as it has over the years as I've heard these stories, and to see these young faces. Not all Peace Corps volunteers are young, I know that, but these were young people who just were caught with zeal and enthusiasm with what they were doing. So, you know, during times of both war and peace, our volunteers through Peace Corps have exemplified some of the best qualities that this country has to offer the world: generosity, tolerance, hard work, ingenuity, friendship, and compassion. They have exhibited critical attention to detail and an unwavering commitment to sustainable development. These are talented people who really are a beacon of the goodwill that we want our country to stand for. So I'm offering tonight, and I'm standing right next to the likeness of Sergeant Shriver, as I offer my sincerest congratulations to the Peace Corps on a 50th anniversary that we all joined in celebration. I want to take the opportunity to encourage anyone who's thinking about it to serve, either abroad or find a way in one's own community to serve with this kind of volunteerism. And I appreciate the leadership you've shown, Mr. Garamendi, in calling us together. I want to thank you and my colleagues in Congress who add so much to your service as colleagues of mine, this history that you share, and you can add this to the kind of Peace Corps volunteerism that you did when you were younger, and it is a spirit that I know has never left you. So I got a signal from Mr. Garamendi, and it is really a tribute because Mr. Farr is a dear friend, but also